Wow. Anyway, so on that stage, I am on my best behavior.
Yes,
Am I
she's
not?
amazing.
Right? Because
She's
it's
amazing.
like, okay, church, God, okay,
I'm
don't
surprised
burn me.
in our rehearsal she hasn't said fuck 3 times.
Well, because of Greg.
Oh. Right?
Because I don't know him like that, so you know.
All right.
Feel free.
By the end, I'll be like,
I'm doing next week, we're on the main stage, broadcasting the parade on Walton Drive with Tony
and me.
15 seconds before we're live.
Oh, wait.
Okay. All right.
I was like, wait a minute,
Surprise.
what's going
Hello. Is this Queer News Tonight? It's like, I guess it is. All right. Here we go. Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, literally the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday, June 2nd. We have launched Pride Month, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show. Out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited, live, LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the Happening Out television network, Hotspots Magazine, and We Meg Events. Hotspots is celebrating 35 years of the LGBTQ experience, and We Meg is bringing you Wilton Manor's Stonewall Pride Parade and Street Festival on June 19th. Merged, we bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our LGBTQ plus community.
And I'll be doing the Stonewall Pride Parade with you, broadcasting it live on June 19th. Very excited. Along with our cohort, Tony Lima.
Mr. Tony Lima!
Right. Well, this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's welcome anchor FayWhat. She's a radio and television personality and has the popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Faye's Fur Family, and is also the anchor of the travel news show Happening Out Travel. Good evening, Faye.
Good evening, boys. Super happy to be here. So let's welcome anchor John Buckley, a client advisor at Rimowa. He is vice president and program director of the nonprofit organization Unity Coalition, as well as the creator of the initiative Caoba, a free traveling social event that features inspiring speakers, topics, and a safe space for all same-gender loving men of color. Plus, he is known as Buck Lords from the famous House of Lords. Good evening, my brother John.
Good evening, Faye. Good evening, everyone. Let's welcome anchor Paul Thomas. He is currently the chairman of the LGBTQ Advisory Committee to the City of Miami Beach, a board member of the Miami Beach Pride, a board of trustee member of the Point Foundation, and the endorsement committee for SAVE. He has over 30 years of experience in the healthcare and education field, specializing in AIDS, HIV treatment, as well as activist, advocate for marginalized communities locally. He works with many of our nonprofit and federally qualified hospital
FQHCs.
Providing a wide range of services. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, John. Let's welcome Gregg Shapiro. He's a renowned LGBTQ plus author of 7 books, most recently Sunshine State, his Florida-centric poetry chapbook that observes and writes about his adopted state with wisdom, passion, a quiet humor, and a sharp eye for detail. He is also an entertainment journalist whose interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ plus mainstream publications and websites. Good evening, Gregg.
Hello, y'all. Great to be here. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, June 2nd.
Well, let's begin by queering up trans rights. In honor of June Pride Month, our Florida Governor DeSantis, oh, this is going to be good, honoring us, bans transgender from sports on June 1st. Watch this.
Senate Bill 1028, the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, is signed into law.
I can tell you this, in Florida, girls are going to play girls' sports and boys are going to play boys' sports. That's what we're doing, and we're going to make sure that that's the reality.
Governor Ron DeSantis introduced the legislature at a news conference at Trinity Christian Academy in Jacksonville. The bill makes participation in high school and collegiate athletics contingent on biological sex.
We're going to go based off biology, not based off ideology when we're doing sports. The bill defines a student's biological sex based on the student's official birth certificate at the time of birth.
The new law has brought immediate backlash from the transgender community.
Well, Florida has become the 8th state this year to ban transgender girls and women in public secondary schools and colleges from participating on girls' and women's sports teams after our Republican governor, signed the restrictive measure into law on Tuesday. The action by Governor Ron DeSantis comes during a record-breaking year for anti-trans bills in state houses across the country and was taken on the first day of Pride Month, an annual celebration of the LGBTQ community that takes place across the world through June, and just 11 days before the 5th year anniversary of the deadly Pulse nightclub shooting in which 49 people were killed at a popular LGBTQ plus venue in Orlando.
You know, guys, what a happy day yesterday was, right? For it being Pride, the first day of Pride Month, and we're seeing all the beautiful colors and postings of our LGBTQ community, right? Saying, yeah! And then you get this. I can't say a bad word, so I won't say. Insert word into that line, boys, right? And DeSantis is there with a smile on his face, signing this bill with a little girl, like, with his arm around this little girl. I just felt so small at that moment. Like, he just took all the happiness of yesterday away in those couple of minutes. It was gross.
Timing is everything, and Governor Death Sentence has a way with timing because he wants to be the next Trump.
Yeah.
In spite of what he has done, at least we have a president that isn't aligned on those same initiatives.
Well, and the thing I guess that really bothers me is that he's going against medical science, right? This has all been talked about and discussed by professionals who have said, that we have to honor these young people. And for a politician to decide to ignore science and reality and the harm that he could be doing, suicide rates and all the different things that can be a result of this, just for political points. It's so disgusting.
Just about political points. There's a bullseye. This is a problem that, or a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Right. This is completely political. And you ask yourself, why is he doing this? And why are several other radical Republican-led state legislatures doing the exact same thing? And I'll make that note in a moment. But the other thing that I think is really critically important here is that he is making a decision to come out in this month to say this is what he thinks about our community. I remind everybody that thinks that we do not, L, the G, the B, and the Q, need to stand up for the T in our acronym. In 1958, the governor of Florida likely could have passed the exact same measure about black people or people of color in this state and justified it of being able to do the exact same thing that you can't play on sports teams in schools. It's the exact same thing. We're just in a moment of time where discrimination is blatant discrimination, and that's what we're watching. And second, we should never forget, between now and 2024, on June 1, the launch of Pride Month in Florida, this person who is going to run for president of the United States told us in spades what he thought of us.
Very true. Now I need something to make me feel nice and warm and hot all over. So let's go on to the next story. Next, let's queer up entertainment. The girls kick off Pride Month with the L Word Generation Q Season 2 trailer. Watch this.
What do you want? To get back together.
Wow. I'm kidding. What is the likelihood that I'm going to be able to find someone who meets all of my criteria?
Come here.
messy parts of people's lives. They're always the most relatable.
I think I've always loved you.
I keep replaying what happened.
I need to know the truth.
You'll never tell a soul. Right?
Ooh, that was hot. All right, on Tuesday, June 1st, Showtime released the first trailer for season 2 of its massively popular L Word reboot. Generation Q season 1 wrapped in early 2020, and production for the second season took longer than usual amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the network has finally confirmed a premiere date and offered fans a sneak peek at what their favorite sapphic Angelinos have been up to since last season's jaw-dropping finale. Hot girls having sex.
I'm so glad it's back. I remember when the L Word first came out, and it was just fun and refreshing, and to be honest, educational. I didn't know a lot about what was going on in that, you know.
In the L, yeah. Yeah.
There's 5 letters in our acronym. That is one of them. By the way.
No, and like
You represent the G.
And like a good gay boy, he's like, I didn't know what was going on with the L. Like, I'm super excited that they're back. I love the original L Word. To me, Jennifer Beals can do no wrong. She was the Grand Master at the Pride in San Francisco when I was still working there. And I was like, Jennifer, I want to have your baby. And I was serious, and I still am serious today. I love the reboot. I love the young blood that they have in there. I love the visibility. They have a really adorable trans man on the show that I super love. And the storylines are interesting. So I'll be watching for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I think is tremendously interesting in the excitement of this new trailer, about March at Queer News Tonight, we began saying, you know, our representation of the girls in our community is not as good as it should be. We are very male, gay, male centric. And we really should do something about that. And once we said that out loud, and we've said it in production, behind the scenes, in front of the cameras, etc., it's helped us to start thinking about girls in so many different ways. FayWhat, Chef Josie, so many leaders that we have in the South Florida community. It's funny, when I watched that video, I was thinking to myself, secretly in my head, I was going, yawn. But you know what? That's really an interesting thing to me, because my reaction is likely it gives me a better impression of what the girls think about when we are so gay-centric, and we push the gay men and the hot men in front of people's faces over and over, and the girls are going in their head, yawn.
And then we wonder why they don't come to the event, right?
Exactly.
Like, why didn't they show up?
Why am I the only girl at all the boy events? It's just me.
Yeah. Let's commit right now. Let's do a better job with that. We've got to incorporate the girls more in our community.
Yes.
And now we queer up karma. Anti-LGBTQ pundit who preached against gays is hospitalized with COVID. Far-right pundit Rick Wiles established himself during the pandemic as one of the top evangelical news sources for hate-based conspiracy theories about the virus. He said that the world would be a better place after a genocide caused by the vaccines kills 70% of the population. Time and again, he said that COVID-19 is God's judgment against people he doesn't like, such as LGBTQ plus and Jewish communities. He has just been hospitalized with coronavirus. Wiles is 67 and lives in Florida, where the vaccine is now available to anyone over age 12. But it's unlikely Wiles himself was vaccinated. He was very publicly opposed to the vaccine.
He had said a quote last week. He said something like, I won't be vaccinated. I'm going to be one of the survivors. I'm going to survive the genocide. That didn't work out too well for you, sir, did it?
Yeah. Good riddance to bad rubbish, as they say.
Yeah. You know, this has happened too often over the last year. Too many people who are just refusing and rejecting the
science.
Denying, exactly. Science has made it very easy for us, what they want us to do, right? To stay safe. And unfortunately, you know, this has happened to him, and I have to say it that way because I refuse to be like him.
And we should say loudly and clearly, Rick Wiles, we won't do what you did to us. We hope you don't die.
Right.
So you're in the hospital, but we do hope you don't die. However, a couple of thoughts. First, why is all of the crazy people in America living here in Florida? Why are they all here?
I think we have a sign. Come to
it
Florida, be
water?
crazy.
Well, I always say, I love you, Florida, but you're embarrassing.
Yes, exactly right. We've done 3 or 4. At Queer News Tonight, we've done 3 or 4 stories on Rick Wiles. He has said unbelievably outrageous things. We have 2 clear enemies to the LGBTQ community, and he represents both of them. Number one, our number one enemy to the LGBTQ plus community is evangelicals. The uber Christian evangelicals absolutely spit hate. And the funny thing about that is all of the polling of the religious communities in America overwhelmingly support the LGBTQ community and even the Equality Act. And even in evangelicals, polls show the majority of them support. So he is a minority. The venom he spits is minority. And our second number one enemy is radical Republicans, the QAnons, etc. And I think our go forward when we do these type of stories at Queer News Tonight, and it's happening out, and we talk about it, and we write about it, and we post about it, is to remember who our enemies are and why they're doing it. And typically it is because of power and money. And Rick Wiles represents both of those. And he's getting the karma, frankly. We hope you don't die, but the karma is coming home to roost.
It is, it is. So let's queer up politics. On a good note, right? President Biden issues LGBTQ plus manifesto in Power Pride Month essay. Joe Biden has proven his status as one of the most inclusive presidents in history with his essay for Pride Month. The U.S. president began his proclamation by remembering the Stonewall Uprising of 1969, calling the liberation movement a, quote, call to action that continues to inspire us to live up to our nation's promise of equality, liberty, and justice for all, end quote. Before reaffirming his commitment to the LGBTQ plus Americans in their ongoing struggle against discrimination and injustice, the proclamation is the first for a U.S. president since Barack Obama, after the 2-time impeached television personality Donald Trump deserted the practice.
By the way, I can't help but notice that he was inserting shade there. Television personality. That was shade.
You heard the little inflection. It slipped. Okay.
Well, what did we think about the manifesto?
This made me so happy, the embracement and everything. I mean, he just called us out so much. I mean, he mentioned Pulse. He said that there was going to be historic action to be taken from, that he's already started once he got into the presidency. I loved what he said. He said, I see you. I am inspired by the fact that you won't take just the crumbs, that you want all equality for all. I love Mr. Biden. I just do. He makes me feel seen, as opposed to the last story that we talked about, DeSantis, where he makes me feel like I'm nothing.
Right. I think it's really important too, because the president of the United States, when they speak, it's a global voice. So there are so many countries that don't have what we have, especially here in South Florida.
Yeah.
We're pretty okay down here. So many countries where people are still being murdered for being gay. And they need to hear the President of the United States support this community.
And he mentioned that about countries abroad, about helping them as well. I mean, that's huge to say that. Huge.
Well, I think one of the things that, of course, we all celebrate that he has done this, and he would spend so much thoughtful time writing about June Pride Month. The one thing that I do think is disappointing and that we should be aware of is we watched 4 years, really 5th year, because of the year that led into Trump's, the shade that you threw on his television personality days. We went through 5 years where we went through a Donald Trump and just short of half of America loved him for it. Now we're going through a Joe Biden and slightly more than the majority of Americans love him for it. What's disappointing is in both extremes, how could we possibly have a greater extreme of Donald Trump in 2019 and a Joe Biden in 2021 and still half of America hate it? Because that's what's happening to Biden and that's what happened to Trump. it's an indication of, gosh, there's really something fundamentally wrong going on in America. Bigger problem than my solution, but we really do need to figure it out, because we've watched a decade of just tremendous division, and his manifesto that he writes for June Pride Month is an indication of we've got to find common ground. We just must.
Absolutely. Next, let's queer up the road to Stonewall. History is made as San Francisco Giants, the first team to wear LGBTQ+ on caps and uniforms for Pride Month. On Saturday, against the Cubs, the Giants will feature Pride colors in the SF logo on their game caps, along with a Pride patch on the right sleeves of their home uniforms, making them the first major league team to do so. The 11 colors represented in the new Pride logo are red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, blue for serenity, purple for spirit, and black and brown for LGBTQ people of color. Light blue, pink, and white represent those who are transgender.
I'm so happy that they did this. I'm like, hey, Marlins, come on, guys, get it together. We're in South Florida, and that's our team, and they have a Pride Night, what I love, you know, and we all go to it. And they have, like, the hats and stuff.
We have a baseball team down
They're called the Marlins. I'll take you sometime. I'll take you for Pride Night.
Yeah.
But they've never put something on their uniforms themselves. That's huge. And of course, San Francisco is going to be the first city to do so. You know, I hope that we follow suit.
And it's interesting that they mentioned the Cubs, because I'm from Chicago, and they would do this out at the ball game every year, a queer night at the ball game. And then even in the Pride Parade, the Blackhawks, when they won the Stanley Cup, I think they play hockey. If I'm not the Stanley Cup was in the Pride Parade the year that they won the Stanley Cup in Chicago. So they realize that there are gay people. I'm not one, but there are gay people who like sports.
I'm glad that they used the progressive flag colors. I'm glad that they added the transgender and the black and brown to this particular logo personally also.
Yeah, it's nice to see them be the first. Sports in general has historically been used for social justice change. Because they know the audience that they have, and to see them take responsibility, add in the other colors, make sure that trans people are seen and supported, just shows that, you know, what you were talking about, that there is a solution, right? And we just have to keep putting this out there, and we have to keep pushing for this acceptance.
And every little bit helps.
Everything.
Every
You know,
little bit helps.
it's interesting to me that a sports team would do this, because first, both for baseball, I do know baseball, I'm a sports fanatic, for both football and baseball, people of color, in percentage compared to general population, are very significantly overrepresented in professional sports. Talent, quality, you know, their performance. And to have a sports team and in sports represent LGBT is a difficult, problematic situation, because among people of color, we have the most difficult situation with LGBT. That's one silver lining in this situation, where a sports team says, nope, let's embrace LGBT, and exactly as you say, they become the drivers, along with the military, to change attitudes. Can you imagine, second note, can you imagine 10 years ago, very masculine, and by the way, guys, sports. I'll explain after the show what sports are all about and help you understand. But very masculine sports team 10 years ago embracing LGBT, much less wearing rainbow colors in their uniform.
Never happened.
It's an indication of, wait, as difficult as we think we have it, let's celebrate the successes when they roll across. And in this month in San Francisco, we're going to get to watch it.
Love it. So that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ+ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ+ America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6, 2020.
Tonight, we report the devastating effect coronavirus has had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ+ community in total cases and deaths.
But we also provide hope of a new light at the end of this long tunnel. As of tonight, more than 2,389,000 LGBTQ+ Americans have contracted COVID-19.
We have watched the greatest single-year LGBTQ plus health crisis of our lifetimes. More than 42,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 296 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
And that is our COVID-19 news for tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ plus community.
An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership.
The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and is totally live.
We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is My Queer Church. Watch this.
This is Mo Laredo, local law enforcement in South Florida, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ plus ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
So that's today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help by liking and subscribing, ring the bell for updates, share the news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, John Buckley, Paul Thomas, and Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily, and that means, again, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Good night.